swear these streets can talk, and now they're telling me it's time to walk. I'm taking all that I can take. I'm not again and they can't make me. I face the end with no beginning. Then I saw the devil grinning, and I knew I had to break away. Well, it's my last chance to get it right. God help me through this night. Give me the strength to break away. One time I swore we'd have
Non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Welcome to Non-stop rock talk. This is your host Tyson Bryden. Today I'm very happy to welcome, all the way from Rochester, New York, former Lou Gramm drummer Rob Mount. Rob, welcome, man. How's it going?
Hey Tyson, it's going great. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm especially excited to talk about Rochester because I had totally forgotten back in the day when I used to turn on Channel 29 WUTV. They used to have commercials for this place called the House of Guitars, and I was probably 10 or 11 even, and back in those days, and think, man, I want to go to that place. Is it still there?
Oh yeah, still here, still going strong, and yeah, it's a worldwide known store. Everybody and their brother, famous people and otherwise, come to Rochester just to buy guitars and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear it's still going, because you know what? There's so many of those old places that were around forever that are no longer, right?
Yeah. Well, with online sales over the last 20 years, they've kind of put a lot of little guys out of business, but because they're such an icon and because they have a lot of rare guitars and stuff, rare albums, it's anybody who could make it here, just if nothing else, just to go to the House of Guitars and check out. It's rock history, man. They got everything. It's amazing,
Well, I'm still gonna. If our border ever opens,
right,
which I'm sure it will eventually. I got to make it down there, because I would. Do they still sell vintage? Like, they still sell vinyl and everything there too?
Oh yeah! Oh my God! There's piles of it, dude. You've never. Yeah, it's amazing. They've got. I don't know how they find anything in there. It's just amazing, and yeah, for sure, man. Once the borders open up, come on over. I'll take you over there on a tour, and it'll blow your mind. It's amazing.
That would be so much fun. That would be awesome. How far is Rochester from Buffalo?
We're an hour east of Buffalo, so right next door.
That's nothing. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So before we get to more recent stuff, I kind of went through, I was online looking you up, and your story is kind of interesting, and I didn't realize this. You got a deal with CMC in the 90s with a band called Ramrod. Possibly you can kind of give me some background into your earlier days before you played with Lou Gramm.
Yeah, well, it started out in the early to mid 90s. I was in a band with two guys. That one of them, Sebastian Marino, was the guitar player in Anvil, which you should know, being from Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he was in Anvil for most of the 90s, and then our singer, his name was Joe Camo. He was in a band that I later joined briefly called Liege Lord, who had some albums out on Metal Blade. And through those two guys, we were able to get a deal on CMC Records, and we recorded, a bunch of demos, because Sebastian had his own recording studio in his basement. And so we got a deal. We started to get prepared to record a record, and then the problem with that ended up being is that they gave all the money that they had in their budget to Joey Belladonna, who put out his first solo record at that time, and so that took all the money, and we ended up with without actually recording the record. So It would have been great. The music is awesome. The demos are, I mean, that stuff still kind of holds up today. It was really kind of, not Pantera-ish, but kind of heavy like that. And with a little bit of industrial type of effects in there, and a lot of double bass drumming, and I love it, man. There's some of that stuff's up on my website for people to go check out, and and then right after that, those guys also ended up going into Overkill because Overkill lost their guitar player. So not only did we lose the record deal because they had no money, but those guys went and joined Overkill. So, but yeah, it was interesting, anyways.
Yeah, and that band was Belladonna, I believe, was it not?
It could have been whatever Joey called it at the time.
I think it was Belladonna. It wasn't as I remember buying it, to be honest with you, and I'm sorry to tell you that I did buy it.
It's okay. Joey's awesome. He's a great singer.
Oh yeah, he is amazing. I wasn't into it as much as I was. I mean, I was expecting Anthrax, and it wasn't Anthrax. So it was a little bit different. It was still heavy, but it wasn't. It just wasn't Anthrax. So
right.
Now, you also worked with John Hahn. Is it Hahn?
Yeah, John Hahn. He is an awesome guitar player out of Pennsylvania. He was featured in Mike Varney's Spotlight column. And I met him, I want to say in the late 80s. My cover band at the time opened up for his. And funnily enough, I kind of met him. If I remember correctly, backstage, I accidentally... during the gig, I hammered on their snare drum mic and broke it. And so after the gig, the sound guy was joking. He was really cool about it, joking around with me about it. John came out and was joking around, and that's how I met him. And so a number of years later, he called me because he had a recording deal in Japan for this band project called Thick as Thieves. And he needed a drummer, and because he works a lot with Carl Kennedy, who's in the Rods, if you know who Carl is, who's a great drummer. And but for whatever reason, I guess Carl couldn't do it, and so John remembered me, called me up. I went down to Pennsylvania and recorded the whole record in like 3 days.
Wow.
Initially, they had it recorded with a drum machine, but David Chastain, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes, I do.
Dave. Okay, so David was working the deal out for John, I think, and said, well, if you put a real drummer on here, I can get you a deal in Japan. So, yeah.
Was it David T. Chastain? Is that how it went by, right?
Yeah. Sort of like Yngwie J. Malmsteen.
Yngwie J. Malmsteen, whose real name, if anybody doesn't know this, is Lars Landerbeck.
Yeah, I heard that Yngwie actually was never his real name, but interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yngwie's I have a buddy up here, Shane Christopher Neal, who's a buddy of yours, just interviewed him, and his name's Kevin Gale. He was in the band Slick Toxic, and him and I always joke about Yngwie because Slick Toxic actually toured with Yngwie in the States on their first album, so we always like to talk about Yngwie. Which is always,
cool.
There's always a funny story, right? Because Yngwie is, and Kevin always says Yngwie is Yngwie, so it's what it is. But now, and I mentioned Shane, and I just caught your recent interview you did with him. Of course, I'm going to give him a plug because he's the one who actually connected us, which was awesome of him. I found it very interesting, your story of how you ended up playing with getting to Lou Gramm. You kind of played in a Foreigner tribute band, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and make a long story short, but Lou is from Rochester, as I am, and a lot of guys in his band that ended up in his band over the years are also from Rochester. And so what had happened was I was in a Foreigner tribute band, like you said, and off air, we talked about Phil Narrow being the original singer, but the next singer after Phil was Lou's nephew, Peter Grammatico.
Right.
He came in as the second singer. And so when he was in the band, he got his Uncle Lou to come do a couple things with us. We did a cancer benefit, and Lou sang with us. He came down and rehearsed in the basement. We went and did a show.
Really? Wow.
We did 3 songs with him, and then it went over so well, and people went nuts enough where we added another song that we didn't rehearse, but we all knew it anyways. And so that kind of set the seed. And then that was around the same time Lou started his own solo band, around 2004-ish, I want to say 2003 maybe. And initially, Lou had his two brothers in, as well as a couple of guys that were in a band called Black Sheep with him, which was one of Lou's first bands. And then over time, as things happened, some of the guys got replaced by a lot of us that were in the Foreigner tribute band that played with his nephew, believe it or not. And what happened with me was around 2004, 2005, I got a call from either him or one of the guys in the band saying, hey, we need some recording done with, we want to re-record some of the old Foreigner songs for promotional purposes, because what happened was Lou didn't own the rights to use the original recordings, so they wanted to do a big montage of Foreigner songs and re-record them. So I went to Lou's studio here in Rochester and recorded those, and that was one of the little things I did. And then they would need a drummer to rehearse once, because Lou's brother lived in New York City. His brother Ben was his drummer. So Ben wasn't going to come in to do these little things, so I would get the call to do it. And then eventually, what kind of helped solidify it to some extent was Ben got ill 3 days before a gig in Big Bear, California, and this was 2009. Right. And so I get a call from the keyboard player who was in the Foreigner tribute band with me, and he's like, hey, man, we need a drummer. You want to do it? And I knew all the songs because I played them all in the Foreigner tribute band many years ago, and there was only a couple I didn't know, and I learned them on my iPod on the way there, and we did some sound checking and did the gig, and that was it until I joined the band permanently, a bunch of years later. So that's kind of the quick history of how I sort of ramped my way into the band, so to speak.
That's cool. And I mean, off air, we also talked about the fact you asked where I lived, and I said, well, I'm 45 minutes east of Toronto. I always say Toronto because, I mean, for people in Europe or wherever, Toronto makes sense, but I just live outside of the city. But you actually mentioned that you had played in the Foreigner tribute band with Phil Narrow in Oshawa, Ontario.
Yeah, I think it was, if I can even remember the name of the place, I think it was called like PK Creek or something was the name. It was like a restaurant. And Phil Narrow, who was the lead singer, one of the, not the original, but a lead singer in Talus, which is kind of a huge cult following, Billy Sheehan's big band, before he joined David Lee Roth. So Phil, I got to jam with Phil for a while, and he's the guy's awesome. He's an amazing singer, great voice. And so we played your hometown once or twice. So there you go.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. This used to be a pretty rocking town, actually. I will say it used to be. A lot of our bars aren't here anymore that used to have live music. So, and
it's like that everywhere, unfortunately. Even before COVID, the bar rock scene just kind of has died off, and it isn't what it used to be 20, 30 years ago. And unfortunately,
I mean, you mentioned doing the tribute thing. It gives me hope because so if John Bon Jovi is listening and you ever need a guitar player, I'm your guy. Because I used to play in a Bon Jovi tribute band for years. But, playing tribute, it's good. It's fun. It's, you get to play these awesome songs, and the crowds are always receptive because they know the material, right?
Oh, sure. And just, you look at the movie Rockstar, which is kind of the more or less story of Ripper Owens in a way,
That's right,
And, you just think about there's a lot of turnover in these classic bands, and sometimes, you get your guy by finding the guy that was in a tribute band that already knows the stuff that can do it, you never know. You just don't know in this business, If you had told me that I was going to permanently replace Lou Gramm's brother in his band, even when I was doing all that other stuff, I never would have believed it because he was tight with his brother, but you just don't know. You just never know. So.
Oh, that's cool, man. And you had a good go with it, which is awesome. Now, how did, you said, I didn't realize Lou was from Rochester.
Yeah.
Now, Mick Jones is English, is he not?
Yes.
I don't even know the story of how Lou ended up in Foreigner.
Well, I guess what I know of it is that Mick, he was in a band called Spooky Tooth, one of many things he had done, and I guess in the mid '70s, he's looking to do a new band, his own band, and somehow from what I understand, he ended up with Lou's record in that band Black Sheep that he was in before Foreigner, and so Mick caught wind of it, listened to it, whatever happened, I don't know. They called Lou down and, went down to New York City where Mick was, and the rest is history. And I guess the song Long, Long Way From Home is more or less kind of the story of that. That's Lou going down to New York City to get the gig or whatnot. So.
Yeah. I mean, how much material, would you do material from Lou's solo album as well? From Midnight Blue? I can't remember the name of the album. I have the vinyl of it. I can't remember the name of it.
Right. Well, that was the song that we did because that was his big hit.
But that's not the name of the album, I don't think. It's Ready.
No, there's Ready or Not.
Ready or Not,
Yeah. And when I did the first gig with them in 2009, we played a couple more solo songs of his that by the time I joined the band full-time were dropped at that point. So, but Midnight Blue, everybody loves that song. So that was a big part.
It's very Foreigner-ish, right? Of course, it's
yeah.
But it could have been a Foreigner song as well. I mean, it was very close to that classic sound, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
great song.
Now, in that interview with Shane, you also mentioned playing behind plexiglass, and I went online and looked at some of that. And you kind of mentioned that, I mean, as a drummer, it's got to be a little bit difficult. Was that your doing, or was that part of, someone said, you know what, I like a drummer playing behind plexiglass?
Yeah, it's definitely not my doing. That was always there. I don't know of too many drummers that actually enjoy playing with that in front of them, but no. From what I understand, although there was never any plexiglass in Foreigner, so. Yeah. And even now, when Lou goes out and does gigs using John Payne's band, because he plays with John Payne and uses his band now, that guy isn't using plexiglass. So I don't know. It basically, from what I understand, is I know Lou likes to turn up the high end in his in-ears quite a bit. He likes a lot of high frequencies. Right. And so by having the plexiglass there, it cuts down from the cymbals going through his microphone and then into his in-ears and blasting his eardrums out with those highs. You know what I mean? So I guess that was the reason. And, our stage guy would often never fail to put me in my place by telling me that the plexiglass is more important than the drummer. So he would always, we would set up the drums, put the mics on the drums. We would do sound check, right? We'd do sound check, and then he'd put the plexiglass up later because you don't know if you have to move a microphone during sound check, so you can't have the plexiglass up there yet. Yeah. So once the sound check was done, then he'd put up the plexiglass, and then he'd start moving microphones around. I'm like, dude, you can't do that after we sound checked. What are you doing? And it was kind of funny, but he would sit there and look at me, and he was half kidding and half serious. He goes, the plexiglass is more important than the drummer.
Did you ever try and hide it on him?
Yeah, I wish I could have. It was it's kind of hard hide something that big.
I know, but it would be funny, right? Like the guy's like, "Where's plexiglass? Where's the plexiglass?" You did something with the plexiglass.
Yeah. I wish there were times where we get, because it was all backlined gear, so the plexiglass was never our own. And there was times it would come broken, and I was like, oh, cool, maybe they won't be able to fix it or something. But nah, they were always able to fix it. You know what really was the worst, I'll tell you, is the first summer I ever played with Lou. We did a lot of outdoor gigs, and it was 90 freaking degrees, every day. Humidity was 100%, and with that plexiglass up, any breeze that I could have gotten to help cool me down was non-existent because that stupid thing killed me. So,
man, I couldn't imagine being in the States, in the middle of the States, even the middle of the States in the summertime, and not having any air coming at you.
Oh, Man, it's terrible. And then the lights, especially if we started out in the sunshine, but then the lights would turn on. Some of those were the old par cans that put off, 100 million degrees of heat, so I'm getting baked from one end and no breeze from the other. And, what are you going to do? I think the funniest time happened with the plexiglass. There was a funny story when we played in Vegas. And it was so windy. It was an outdoor gig with Pat Benatar and the English Beat. It was a giant thing for a radio station out there. And it was so windy, they had to do everything they could to keep that plexiglass from taking off and flying away. And I was sitting there going, where's my helmet? You know what I mean? I was waiting for it to come whack me in the head. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
So, I mean, and still talking about the plexiglass. But, so you do sound check without it. You're probably like, oh, this sounds really good. And then was there a huge difference when they put it on the front?
Well, I could never tell because I don't, I can't hear me playing out the PA. I don't think it really affected the sound coming out of the PA. It just deadened the sound coming off the drums on the stage. It kept things a little quiet.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really affected any of the sound, because the microphones were already ready to go. Everything was dialed in. So other than our stage guy moving a few things, it probably
So I mean, but would it take away your live, your live feel then a little bit?
No, because I used in-ear. I was using in-ears like everybody else. So yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
Didn't affect me.
Kind of curious. Now, touring with Lou Gramm. I mean, he'd been around for years up to that point. I mean, it's not like you're touring with Motley Crue or Poison back in the day. Give me kind of an idea of doing these tours. I'm sure you'd go on the road with other bands as well. Like you said, English Beat, Pat Benatar was one of the gigs. I mean, you play for an hour or two, then you've got lots of downtime. Was there anything you did to bide your time? Like, for instance, like Alice Cooper goes golfing with all the guys in his band, and I've seen his band at baseball games in Toronto and whatnot.
Well, there was things I tried to do to keep busy. First of all, let me just say that we never really did tours where we were out for a long period of time. It was mostly weekend things.
Okay, weekends.
Yeah, weekend things where we go out for, 2 or 3 shows, or we did a Canadian thing for about a week once or whatever. Or we'd go out on a cruise or whatever. So it was never like we were on a tour bus,
right.
But still, there's still downtime in the middle of being either in an airplane or in a sound check. And what I always did was, weather conducive, of course. I to this day for exercise love to walk. So what I would do is, go outside and start walking and seeing the sights and, just exploring. I could never just sit in a hotel room twiddling my thumbs. So if there was a mall or somewhere to go shopping, I would do that. Our guitar player in the band and we hung out a lot. Sometimes we'd even bring our baseball mitts and go play catch in a parking lot or something.
I'd do that. I totally all over that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny though, because like from playing in bands, like, sometimes you get guys that are into, like, there's certain guys that aren't into sports at all, and then you get the odd guy that is. So it's kind of depends who you're playing with, right?
Well, yeah, it kind of depends on just what's available in the town you're at. For instance, we did Dallas one year, and a brother of a friend of mine lived there, and he took us to a minor league ball game.
Cool.
And we had a great time, hanging out, watching the ball game, sitting in the stands or going up to the luxury box to get some chow and eat. And then he took us to Dealey Plaza where Kennedy was murdered, to go down there and check out the site there in Dealey Plaza, because I'm a huge JFK, kind of, guy when it comes to all that kind of stuff. So it was very interesting to me. So, it just depends on what city you're in. Sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere at a casino and there's nothing to do, but sometimes you're in Vegas and there's plenty to do. So, we always found
it all depends. And then you find stuff to do, right?
Yeah, I just can't sit there and twiddle my thumbs and stare at a TV. That would drive me nuts. I just couldn't do it. So
no, I have to ask. Like, I was in Memphis a couple of years ago, and I went to the spot where Martin Luther King was shot, and it was eerie. It was kind of like it was a very eerie feeling. Did you get that same feeling at that spot as well?
Oh yeah, dude. There's an X that marks the spot supposedly where he was in his car when it happened, and it was at night. We went there after the baseball game, so it was probably like 10, 11 o'clock at night at that point, and there really wasn't much traffic, so it was really cool because we get to just stand in the street, and it was really weird, dude. I mean, it was because I studied I'm really into what happened and all the theories and all that kind of stuff. Is kind of my thing. Yeah, and it was just weird. I just wanted to sit there and soak in the vibes, as weird as that sounds. I could have stayed there all night. I sat on the grassy knoll, and just stared out at the street. Yeah, and I'm like, wow, man, this is where one of the most famous events in human history happened, So I was grateful that he took me down there and took us, the ball game. That was pretty cool. So,
that is cool. That's very cool. And Rochester has a AAA team, do they not?
Yeah, the Red Wings, Red
Wings. Yep. And they've been there forever. One
of the oldest franchises in baseball as well as hockey, because our hockey team in the AHL, the Emerson.
Yeah.
Yeah. We I guess, you get the original 6 in hockey, and then the Amers would have been like 7 or 8 if they were in the NHL. I mean, the guys that played in the AHL at that time were just about as good as the NHL guys, because the pool was so,
6 teams. Then expanding to 12, right? And then now look where we are. I don't even know what we're at 30 or something like that. I can't even keep track. Seattle's getting another team, a team. So it's baffling to me, right? So
it's a good sports down here in Rochester if you're into that stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, I've never been there, and I'm gonna have to come because it sounds appealing to me.
Well, a lot of guys are from Rochester. A lot of musicians are from here. I mean, Steve Gadd. I mean, he's one of the most famous drummers in the world. Is from Rochester. Chuck Mangione, one of the most famous jazz musicians ever, is from Rochester. And then other guys that have gone on to be in big bands that you might not know as a household name. One of the guys here, Elvio Fernandez, he's been in Chris Daughtry's band for like 10 years or whatever. It's just, there's a lot of great musicians here, even though Rochester is more of a secondary type city. But there's a lot of great musicians that are here and have gone on to do big things. So.
Wow. So growing up, you always had a gig then, I take it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I started when I was like, 4 or 5, banging on the pots and the pans and the garbage cans, and then I started taking lessons as a young kid, and I was in all my school bands and the high school orchestra. And when I went to college, I went for a year and studied music ed, and I was in all the percussion ensembles and the orchestras, and I even studied at the Eastman School of Music when I was in high school, which is one of the most prestigious music schools in the world. I didn't go there for college, but for 3 years during high school, I was in all the percussion ensembles and all that kind of stuff. And, and that's when I started being in rock bands when, like everybody else, when I was a teenager, and it's just never stopped from there. So, yeah, I've been doing it since I was a wee little kid, I guess. So.
Oh, that's cool. Were there lots of clubs there?
Well, there was a fair amount. I mean, in the heyday when rock was king, in the 80s, when there was a scene for all that. There was probably about 3, 4, 5 really prominent rock clubs here, and there was a nice scene, where there was a lot of great bands, and a lot of bands came through that were regional and national bands too that went on to record, get record deals and record as well. So it was a really good scene, for a number of years until the grunge scene came and wiped everything out.
You know what? It's funny today. I got in the car, and Q107, which is our big rock station here in Toronto, was on, and Nirvana was on, and I'm like, nothing against Nirvana. I'm not a huge fan, but I mean, I think Come As You Are was on, and I'm thinking, this used to be the classic rock station, and all of a sudden Nirvana has become classic rock. And to me, I still can't get used to that, because to me, that was the changing of the guard. That was the change, the shift in rock and roll, where it wasn't, because rock and roll was always fun, no matter what era, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Rock was fun. It was about having fun, and that's what rock was, and it was a release. And then this grunge era comes out, and it's the total opposite of the last 40 years, right?
Yeah, it was disappointing. And I never really got into a lot of that. I mean, there's some of the bands that came out that, but like Stone Temple Pilots, but I don't consider them grunge.
No, I don't
they're
either.
just,
Not at all.
but I got into them. I got into, Pantera,
Yeah.
a little bit of the Soundgarden, a little bit of the Nirvana. It wasn't really my thing, and you're right. It's just everything became a freaking downer.
Yeah.
And, and you got to admit,
It had to change.
it had to change because the scene had gotten so bloated. I mean, the hair metal, whatever you want to call it, really. By then, you're seeing copies of bands get record deals, and they weren't nearly as good as the top tier bands. So that kind of did have to go, but yeah, it kind of took all the fun out of it. So, and then,
It did. It did.
that record they did with John Hahn, and that came out in '97, and it would have fit right in with the scene of the late '80s if we did it then. And because it came out when it did, we couldn't get a deal in the U.S. because nobody wanted to know about it.
Yeah,
and
of course. Yeah.
Japan was always loyal to that kind of music, and so it came out there. But if it came out 10 years earlier, you probably would have heard about it. It was a great record. John's phenomenal, and Eric, the singer, was great. And it was a great record, and you can still find it if you look hard enough for it.
I'm going to look for it because I'd like to hear it. I'm sure I can hear it on YouTube. Is the whole thing on YouTube? Do you know?
Some of it is, I think. I've seen people do links, but you can go to my website,
Okay.
just robmount.com, and if you go to the music section, I've got, let's see here, I don't know, I got about 3 or 4 songs at least from it.
Okay.
There's stuff from my whole career on there, but
Cool.
you can get a good feel from it.
Oh, I want to. If it sounds like that, because I mean, I'll dig it. I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask about Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, which I understand is being released as a movie, but you took part and were a counselor. Tell me about that at one point. You were a counselor probably a few years back, I take it.
Yeah, it was, 2018. I had the fortune of being asked to be a camp counselor, and it was a lot of fun. Basically, for those who don't know, you can go. I guess David Fishoff, the guy that runs it's got a new movie out about it, and I haven't seen it yet. But what he does is he gets big name stars to come to his camps, and people pay X amount of dollars that are lawyers and whatever, they're professionals or whoever that want to, they're musicians, but they want to go rock out with their stars, sort of as they always wanted to do it, but they chose a different path in life, I guess. But, this is their fun. And so you'd have usually, 3, 4, 5 stars that would be the feature artists of the camps. And then some other guys that are name guys, not that I really am at all, but that are camp counselors. So what we were in charge of would be to whip the bands up into shape and get them to learn some songs by the big name artists. And then we would go play with the big name artist guys, and they would, have the time of their lives playing with, whoever, Rudy Sarzo or Nancy Wilson or, Roger Daltrey or whoever, you know what I mean? And it's just a lot of fun. And, the night before it all starts off, we'd have a counselor jam. So, in my counselor band, we had Monty Pittman, who is Madonna's guitar player, and Ashley Reeves, who shares bass player, and Vinny Appice and I traded off drums. So Vinny played a couple songs. I played a couple of songs. It's just a lot of fun. It was a great experience. And, now he's got the movie out about it. So, that's cool.
That's very cool. You have to check that out. Now, you subbed in with Scrap Metal, which featured, I believe, in that one that you were at, Mr. Big Singer Eric Martin, Ted Polly of Danger, Phil Lewis of LA Guns, and Janet Gardner of Vixen, just to name a few. Tell me about that. How did that all come about?
Well, that was awesome. It was just out of the blue, to be honest with you, because I got a message of all places on LinkedIn. Out of all the places on social media to get a message about a gig, Gunnar Nelson sends me a message. On LinkedIn, right? Not on Facebook, not on Instagram. Yeah. I wake up in the morning and I see a message. I'm like, okay, who's this? And I see Gunnar Nelson's name, and he sends me this message about we need a drummer, And obviously, I was asked as a sub. I'm not the a regular part of the cast or anything. That's usually like Kelly Kagi from Night Ranger, Bobby Rock, from those guys are the main guys. But they're like, hey, your name came up. We need a drummer. Eric Martin's doing it. Mark Slaughter's going to be there. Janet Gardner, Phil Lewis, all these people are going to be there. Barry Goodrow, guitar player from Boston, is going to be doing it. And you want to do it, And I'm like, hell yeah, So I called him and we chatted. And he's like, great, man. I think you'll fit right in. And so here's the deals. Here's the deals. I can talk. Here's the deal. Here's the details. And so that was it, And Ted Poley from Danger was there. I got to be fast friends with him. We hung out at a Cracker Barrel for a couple hours in an afternoon and had fun buying his cat. His cat had these hamster balls. You put batteries in the drives cats nuts, and we had all sorts of goofy fun doing that. Talking about that.
Ted's crazy. I mean, I've interviewed Ted, and I've seen Ted many times, and he's always great. So I mean, learning the material. I mean, it's not just one band. So did you know much of the material that you had to learn?
I knew a lot of it, because I heard all of it, most of it anyways. I wasn't as big, or I shouldn't say as big, that doesn't sound good. I wasn't as knowledgeable about the Vixen stuff because I wasn't a huge fan. Yeah. Well, you see them on MTV and all that stuff, but they just weren't necessarily my thing. Not that I thought they were bad. It's just that for whatever reason, other than that they were hot, I just never really followed the band. But what I did was, anytime I get a gig, whether if I have to record or learn songs like that on the fly and I don't know them, I'll kind of make my own charts. I'll listen to them all day long. I'll put a playlist together, and in my sleep, I'll just have it going on repeat in my sleep. So it's subconsciously drilling itself into my brain. And then, on the plane ride there and all that, I just do what I got to do. And then when we got there, we didn't rehearse. The only thing we did was we got together in a hotel room with each of the featured artists and kind of went over some of the songs. Some of the guys we kind of sort of rehearsed. There was guitars and I was drumming on the bed, if you want to count that as a rehearsal. But some of the other guys, like Eric Martin, we didn't go through any of his songs. We just talked over some talking points or whatever. And then other than sound check, that was it. Get up and go. And, it was a hell of a lot of fun. The pressure was kind of on. I felt like I was auditioning for like 6 or 7 different artists at once.
No
We all made little mistakes here and there, which is common. I mean, I've seen clips of those guys on YouTube doing various gigs over the years, and it's more about just fun and not necessarily nailing each part because, it's more about the spirit of things, you know what I mean? But I tried to do my best. I mean, I was trying to be as authentic as I could, and it came out pretty good, I thought, and we all had a lot of fun and met a lot of great guys. So it was awesome.
So Matthew and Gunnar didn't play though at that show.
No, they didn't do that show because they have their own deal that they do as a tribute to their dad's music, I think, and they already had a gig. They already had a gig lined up for that, so they were not there. No,
but Mark Slaughter was, as you point. You got to play with. You played with Mark Slaughter.
Well, yeah. What's funny about it is the gig initially was a Slaughter gig opening up for Vince Neil. That was the actual gig in the place, and then Vince had to pull out for health reasons. I think he had some sort of health thing going on, and so the scrap metal thing got put in its place. And so Slaughter opened up, and then Mark came on stage with us for at least 2 or 3 songs and sang backups. And at the end of the night, we did Rock and Roll by Zeppelin, and all the singers traded off verses. And, so yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that is cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that you tried out for Raiding the Rock Vault, which features Robin McAuley, Paul Sortino, Doug Aldrich, Tracy Guns, just to name a couple. I take it you went to Vegas for that?
Well, I never tried out for it, but here's what happened. We had a gig at the Lou Gramm thing, had a gig in Vegas, and Lou's already, I think, had gotten up with those guys at one point. And so our organization sort of knew their organization. So the night before a gig, we were in town, and we went and saw them and then hung out with them afterwards, all the guys. And I got to talking to Jay Shellen, who was the main drummer in the band.
Yeah.
And from Hurricane, among other things. And he was also drumming and still is drumming in Yes.
Oh.
Because Alan White, is ill. He can't really play much anymore. So Jay's kind of the main guy. And so I got to talking to him, and I just threw it out there, like, because he was saying, I go out and I do things with Yes, and next year I'm going to be doing a bunch of things with Yes. I'm like, well, if you ever need a sub, I'd be more than happy to do it. Just give me a shout. I know all this stuff. It's all classic rock stuff. And he said, yeah, and that'd be awesome. And his others, he already had a couple of regular subs. Oddly enough, one of them is Blas from Slaughter, Blas Elias.
Yeah.
So a month goes by. I don't hear anything from him. I had sent him a text saying, hey, it was nice to meet you, blah, 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 yada, 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 after I got home from that weekend of doing our gigs. Didn't hear anything for a month, and all of a sudden I get a text from him basically giving me his gig, out of the blue. It's your gig. I talked to Howard Leese. Howard is the original guitar player from Heart. He was in Bad Company. Yeah. And we had played with Bad Company. Lou Gramm had did a big show out in California opening for Bad Company, and Howard had seen me play, so he knew I could do it. And so Jay talked to Howard. They basically had it all lined up, had a time frame lined up, the whole 9 yards, right? So I started getting all my stuff together, updating some gear. I even spent a lot of money updating some clothes and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Vegas. I need to, spiffy up my wardrobe a little bit. You don't want to look like a schmuck out in Vegas. You got to fit in. And long story short, after a month of preparing, starting to look into moving out there, talking to my wife about all this stuff and preparing, Jay puts me in touch with the production manager, and then that's where everything started to fall apart because the production manager didn't know Jay was leaving more or less for good. He thought I was coming in as like a sub for 3 months or something. So they got their signals crossed somewhere, and that changed the situation. So the guy I was talking to was saying, well, dude, you're all set to come in and sub for Jay, for like, we were thinking a few months or so. That would have been awesome. But now we're talking about changing a cast member. We're talking about replacing somebody more or less. And he said, that's a different story. And I'm like, yeah, it is a different story. And, now you tell me, it's like, after a month of, obviously I was excited, but I was still doing the Lou Gramm thing. So I was trying to work out when I was going to tell them. I was trying to figure out, a schedule so I could get a sub to leave Rock Vault so I'd go do Lou, and all this stuff I was working out. Long run, they gave the gig to Blas, which in the long run, it makes sense because Blas already lived there. Blas was already a sub. You know what I mean? So it rightly went to him, but Jay was figuring because Blas was doing Blue Man Group at the time and didn't think Blas was going to leave that because that was a great gig to have with a lot of perks and stuff. So I think that's where Jay just didn't take it seriously for Blas to fully take the place. He figured Blas would just be a sub and gave me his gig. So easy come, easy go. It happens to everybody. It's like that band Ramrod when my, the record deal fell through and the guys ended up leaving me in the dust to go join Overkill. It's just, it happens.
That's music,
what are you going to do?
That's a music business, I guess you'd call it.
Exactly. It's why they call it the music business.
Exactly. That's crazy. So, now we're in COVID, of course. So what are you up to these days?
Well, since there's no gigs to do, unfortunately for us, right now what I'm doing is teaching drums. That's mainly the extent of doing drums that I'm doing. I've got a bunch of videos that I put up on my social media. I have a thing called Name That Tune that a lot of people like to play along with to guess whatever, goofy song I'm playing.
I actually tried to play one the other day. I did.
There you go.
I didn't do very well at it.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. So, I'm doing that. You do what you can to survive and make money and do what you got to do, right? So, I had right before COVID struck, I did the scrap metal thing, and whether it would have panned out or not to do more of those. When I was talking to Gunnar Nelson initially, he was talking about potentially having me do more. Whether it would have happened or not, I don't know. You know what I mean? But, the momentum that I had playing with all those guys quickly got squashed when COVID shut down the universe, right? So, I had a local band here that played regionally that was picking up steam, to have some fun in between gigs. And, so I was doing all that kind of stuff, trekking along, and then this came and put everything to a halt. So, when this is over, hopefully, I'll land another gig where I can get back out there and play. I still keep in touch with a lot of people, my buddy Mike Morales, who plays drums with Dennis DeYoung from Styx. We did some shows with them, and I talk to him once in a while. And my buddy Rob Hammersmith, who plays drums in Skid Row.
Skid Row, yeah.
I did some online lessons for him. He wanted to brush up on some stuff, and so we did about 4 or 5 drum lessons on Skype. And I keep in touch with him, and so you do what you can. Nobody's got a gig right now, but it's even a little tougher when I was in between gigs because, getting back to getting into it's going to be a little tougher maybe because everybody's itching to go out and play now. I mean, everybody and their brother is going to be, it's like a floodgate.
Wow.
When they open this up, everybody's going to be competing for the same venues and the same dates. And
making up the dates that they lost last year, right?
Well, yeah, and this year too, because everything they've got scheduled for this year's they're already kicking the can down the road, and it's going to be next year for a lot of these guys. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just saw M3 in Maryland has been postponed.
Yeah.
Indefinitely, more or less. They said we don't have a date yet. I don't think they're going to make a date this time because they've changed it 3 times. Like last year it was May, as it always is, and then they pushed it to Labor Day weekend, and then they had to push that, and then this one they just pushed it out too. So
yeah, at this point, who can really say when anything's going to happen? I know there's been articles. I think Rolling Stone had an article recently about opening up, doing shows, but at limited capacity, and they're talking maybe 30% capacity or something like that. And I just can't see how anybody's going to be able to make any money, right?
Yeah,
how are you going to make any money doing that? And then you got half the people at least that are going to be scared of getting sick, and so you're going to have some sort of COVID insurance or something that you got to pay for to add to the cost of all this.
Yeah, that's right. I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, think about the insurance you're going to have to put on these shows. It's going to be crazy. So how are you going to be able to make any money doing this until you get some sort of, maybe not capacity, but you got to have a good percentage of people sitting in those seats paying for tickets, So,
well, I mean, I think it comes down to the number of people that have been vaccinated, right? And is it going away?
Could be,
right?
Could be. I mean, here's what's happening. Not to get down this rabbit hole, but this whole health pass that you're going to have to go and do things is part. Yeah, like a card or something.
I've been vaccinated.
Yeah, you're going to have to prove something in order to get in to do probably just about anything in life.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, again, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but, they're saying even though you've had the vaccine, that doesn't mean you still have to stop wearing a mask. That doesn't mean you can't still stay 6 feet apart. I mean, it's like, why get the vaccine if you still got to obey all the rules you had to do anyways? So,
I don't understand that. If you're vaccinated, you're not giving it to anybody. So why are you wearing a mask?
Yeah, it's just lunacy. None of it makes any sense. So, So just because everybody, I hear everybody talk about, same thing you said. Once we all get the vaccine and we can all go back to normal. It's like they're not even saying that.
Well, if they don't, if everybody gets vaccinated and all of a sudden they say, oh, you still have to wear your mask and you still have to do this, there's going to be complete anarchy.
Right.
Right. Like people aren't going to. Well, you told me to do this, I did it, and now you're telling me that it doesn't matter.
Right, it's stupid. It's just stupidity,
right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess time will tell.
Yeah, man. It's a whole different world. I don't think it's ever going to go back to the way it was. But who knows what's coming? And just keep your fingers crossed that we're all able to go out and play music and get in front of crowds and do it some way or another. I mean, at this point, everybody, not just music, but any entertainment. I mean, everybody just wants to have fun. Everybody's sick of this bull. I don't know if I can swear on this.
Oh, you can swear. You can swear.
Excellent. Let's say fucking bullshit.
Fucking bullshit. There we go. We both said it.
There you go. You just want to. Everybody's ready for some fun, man. Everybody just sick of bad news, sick of the garbage, sick of being told what you can't do. And Let's hope it does, man. Let's just hope. I've been waiting for the new James Bond movie to come out for crying out loud for a year and a half. I can't even go watch my James Bond movie.
I know. I mean, I am excited for that. I guess it's his last one, right?
Yeah, that's what he says, and I've been a Bond freak for 40 plus years, and, I love the Daniel Craig movies, and I was so happy he was coming back and doing another one, and they get ready to rehearse it, and he goes on Saturday Night Live to promote it, and start doing PR, and all of a sudden this COVID bullshit happens, and all of a sudden they had to pull the reins on everything, and they're still sitting on it. It's like, come on, man.
I want to see it. I'm the same as you. I've been a Bond fan for 4 years. I mean, I have the whole trilogy, the whatever you call it, all of them on Blu-ray. Like I have that box set. I love it.
Yep. Yeah. What's your favorite one? What's your favorite Bond movie?
Oh man, I don't know. It's a good question.
What's your favorite Bond? Who's your favorite Bond?
My favorite Bond was Roger Moore.
Aha.
And I think my favorite Roger Moore one is The Spy That Loved Me, Who Loved Me. I like that one a lot. But I really do like Daniel Craig. I think they did a really good... But I like Pierce Brosnan, and I do like Sean Connery, but Sean Connery's a little bit, I think, older for me. So growing up, my dad was a big Roger Moore fan, so that's kind of why I probably lean towards Roger Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely loved Skyfall. I thought that was...
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was so well done.
That was a great one.
I liked GoldenEye. I thought it was decent. I do realize I really liked Pierce Brosnan at the time, but I realized that I like Daniel Craig a lot more.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan at the time was cool, but I don't know if those movies really hold up anymore. They don't hold up at all compared to the Craig movies. The Craig movies, kind of harken back to the old type of original Bond that Connery did.
Yeah.
And if you've ever read any of the books, I read all the James Bond books, believe it or not, I have them all. And if you read any of those, they're closer to the character that Ian Fleming had actually written about.
Right.
And I love Roger Moore, too, because Spy Who Loved Me is the first one I actually ever saw. But he was a completely different approach because he brought more comedy and lightheartedness, which was great. I love that, too. But and if you get a chance, read his books. He's got 2 or 3 books about Bond that are great.
He does. I'll have to check those out. I think he was suave, and so was, and so was Pierce Brosnan. They were suave. Roger Moore had that comedy side, but Daniel Craig and Sean Connery are suave but more rugged. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
A little bit rough around the edges, right?
Yeah, more like the original character in the books.
And you notice we're not talking about George Lazenby and Timothy Dalton here because
we forgot that. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a good documentary about George Lazenby somewhere out there. I saw it doing Bond. It was really interesting. And the more I watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the more I like it. It's a little slow and long, but I don't
hate it.
That movie. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't mind it. And Timothy Dalton, he actually kind of brought a coldness, original kind of air back as well to the Bond character. Because after think about it, though. Roger Moore kind of stayed a little too long to the party, I thought.
He did.
He started getting old and unbelievable as a Bond-type guy, and Timothy Dalton came in and kind of brought it a little bit back to earth a little bit.
Yeah, Roger's clothes were getting a little tight of View to Kill and Octopussy, and he had a few more lines on his face.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Right? But you know what? It's funny, when you talk about License to Kill and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, there's a couple things in those films, like, for instance, Bond getting married. The only time he was ever married, right? And then License to Kill was when he had his License to Kill taken away.
Yep.
So there's a lot of relevance to those films.
Sure.
Within the what do you call it? What would you call the 007? It's a franchise, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there is some cool stuff in those films, and I don't think there's ever been a Bond that has been horrible.
No. I wouldn't say so at all. As far as an actor, no. Maybe a couple of the movies are a little wacky, over the course. But hey, the Bond films have been around. It'll be 60 years, I think. Starting next year, it'll be 60 years. And if you figure how many they've done over those years, you're bound to. Who doesn't going to have a clunker here or there? Like Moonraker's a little wacky, if you ask me. But
yeah. It's a little wacky. Even the Man with the Golden Gun's it's got a little bit of weirdness to it. Right? It's just funny. And you know what also is funny is the fact that the Sean Connery Warner Brothers film that came...
Never Say Never Again.
Yeah, which is technically a Bond film, and he's James Bond.
Well, it was a remake of Thunderball.
Yeah, Thunderball.
Yep.
Which to me is very odd.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that we're into James Bond now. That's cool. This conversation's gone that way. It's fun. I never talk James Bond with anybody. This is cool. No. But the guy, Kevin McClory, I think his name was, has had the rights to the Thunderball story. And Ian Fleming, and he kind of co-wrote it or something, was up with that. So that's why he initially was kind of shoved out of the project of the original movie or something like that. So somehow he was able to get the rights to go do his own version of Thunderball, but he couldn't have the Bond music, and he couldn't even have a guy named Q. He had a guy named Algernon or something. He couldn't even have the Q character. But
wow. I haven't seen that in years. I have seen it. I think I had it on VHS when...
It's out on Blu-ray. I've got it on Blu-ray, so, you can add that to the collection. You can still find it. I've had it for a while.
I gotta find that. I'm gonna have to find it. It's like, but I've never seen the Peter Sellers Casino Royale thing.
No, I've never seen that. That's more like a spoof type thing, I guess. Right? Yeah, I never really paid much attention or had much interest in that, so I can't tell you about that one.
Yeah, it's amazing that they ran out of books long ago, but they never did Casino Royale
up until later with Daniel Craig.
Yeah, and that's Daniel Craig's first Bond film, which I think was a great way to introduce him to people.
Oh yeah. That was a great movie. All of his movies, I think, are phenomenal. The only one that's a little iffy for some people, which I still don't mind, was the second one that he did, Quantum of Solace.
I thought that was good. I liked that.
I didn't mind it. It wasn't it didn't move along as good as the other ones did, but it's important in the story because it's relevant to what came after.
Is that the one where he's chasing the guy from crane to crane?
I think that's...
Or is that Casino Royale?
Now you got me thinking. that might have been still Casino Royale, I think, when you're talking about doing the jumping.
It's wild where they're jumping cranes and... Holy cow. That's tense, right?
Oh my God, how do they do that?
Yeah, exactly. Now the relevance to all this, so we can bring it back to, is what do you think is the best Bond song ever?
Well, that's a good question. I would probably... probably one of the best has got to be Live and Let Die, just because it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
That's goes without saying. But, I like a lot of the older ones that are out with the orchestras and stuff. From Russia with Love's got a great song. Thunderball's a great song. The Man with the Gold Gun's kind of cool with Shirley Bassey singing it. Diamonds Are Forever. They got some good ones. When you got into the 80s, you got a little goofy songs.
There's one, Nobody Does It Better. Is that from The Spy Who Loved Me? I'm not going to sing it. I can't remember the theme. There is one that I really liked of the Roger Moore films. I think that might be it. And remember, Duran Duran did A View to a Kill.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a horrible song. If you like Duran Duran, it made sense at the time because they were such a huge band then. And Chris Cornell did Casino Royale, which was a good song.
Yeah, I was just going to say he did a great job. Even Jack White did a good one with. I think he might have done the Quantum of Solace one. The one Jack White did was kind of a good tune as well. So and even Adele. Which one she did? Right. She did Skyfall.
Skyfall, yeah, she did a good job.
Yeah. Think about it. What a gig to get. Getting the lead vocal in a Bond soundtrack with a theme song. I mean, that's got to be huge, you know. So,
It's like being the Bond lady, like the Bond girl, right? It's like I got the theme song, you got the part as the girl. You know, there's been some amazing Bond girls over the years.
Yeah, oh yeah, without doubt, for sure.
You know, like you just think of going all the way back to the beginning. So,
yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, now you're making me Jones to throw in a movie when we're done talking.
Well, I'm thinking about putting on the Soul list now because I'm kind of curious, and I'm thinking about that, and I may just go back and put them on and watch a bunch of the intros to hear the songs.
You know, I was telling my kids because my kids they're in their early 20s and they're huge Bond fans like me. And I always said, you know, one of these days you're just going to come over and we're going to sit in the basement and crank up, like, we'll do a Daniel Craig movie marathon, you know, which is probably, you know, they're all over 2 hours. So you times that by 4 or 5 movies, you're going to
You got to start at 8 a.m.
I know. But, yeah, man, I just love all that stuff. I read all the books as a kid and, you know, and got into the movies and, yeah, good stuff. Getting back to the COVID stuff and all the crap that, you know, we're not able to do. I just, you know, can't wait to go see that movie or, you know, play a gig or, you know, hopefully this whole thing turns around somehow. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I don't know, man. Let's keep our fingers crossed. That's all I can say. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope so too. And a tidbit of information talking about Oshawa, Ontario. Apparently, this is in Whitby. There's a spot up the street that used to be called, I think it was Camp X, and apparently Ian Fleming actually trained here.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look it up. If you ever think about it, look it up. I can't remember the whole story, but they used to train spies here at one time.
Ha! Well, he was in the Royal Air Force, I guess, and, you know, he was kind of one of those spy-type guys back in World War II, so...
Which is so cool.
Yeah. I'd love to go to Jamaica and see his place, you know, Golden. I would love to go down there.
That would be awesome, yeah.
Check out that place. That would be cool.
That is very cool. Well, Rob, I want to thank you, man. And we talked about James Bond. I've never talked James Bond on my show before, so this is a first.
I know. I never have either. So it was a lot of fun actually talking to. Yeah, I mean, like who these days likes James Bond? You know, it's like, you know.
I grew up with it, man. My dad, right?
Yeah.
And it started because for my dad with Roger Moore because his favorite show was The Saint.
Oh yeah, that was the show before. Yeah,
with Roger Moore. So that's why he loved Roger Moore so much. And when he became Bond, he was just ecstatic. And then growing up, he's like, "You got to watch these movies," and he'd have them on, and I grew to love them. Right?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's perfect for a fairly young boy to get out, you know, have his escapism, you know, with the spy stuff. You know, it's. You know, the Cold War was still going strong.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. Exactly. So.
And speaking of Kennedy, he was a huge fan of James Bond, and he was a big fan of From Russia with Love. You know, that came out right before he was killed, actually, unfortunately. Yep. So there's a little bit of trivia. Is
that number 3?
No, that was the second one. Goldfinger was the third.
I always get them confused. Goldfinger and okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Well, anyways, you enjoy the rest of your night, man. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll get to talk again.
Yeah, Tyson, thank you very much for having me. And, you know, it was fun, man, talking James Bond and drums and what else could you want.
I never know what's going to happen on this show.
Yeah, right. The last thing I would have known, I would have brushed up on more James Bond and JFK conspiracy stuff.
Well, we'll have to talk about that next time. People will be scratching their head. I thought this was rock talk.
I know. What the hell happened? What's
it is, but
stuff?
You know what? Other stuff happens in life, too. So,
well, hey, man, I appreciate it. And, you know, if everybody out there, they can find me on, you know, all the social medias. And I have my own website. Just look me up under robmount.com, and there I am. So
perfect.
I appreciate it.
Okay, Rob. Well, you have a great night, and we'll talk soon.
All right, Tyson.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Nights is one more day. Enough time to find a better way.